in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Hi, I'm Jamie Fouché. Welcome to another episode of Exploring Hobbies. We're here at Henry Ford College. We're at the Student and Culinary Arts Center. I'm here with Jeffrey Lau and Robert Speaks, and they're going to be sharing with us about their hobby of ice sculpting. Guys, thanks so much for having us here today. We're excited to see what this is all about.
No problem.
So to get started, why don't you tell us how you got started ice carving?
Well, I got started ice carving because one day I was at work. I seen my boss start ice carving, and I was interested. I was like, "Wow, this is nice. I like doing this." And he told me how much money he made off just doing this in a couple hours. I'm like, "Wow, okay, that's even better." So I was already here, enrolled in Henry Ford College. I looked at the program and I signed up for class.
Great.
I started because I came to Henry Ford College. Back then it was known as Henry Ford Community College. And they were looking at my transcripts and saw I had a lot of art classes on there. And they asked me if I ever thought about ice carving. And I looked at them and said, what's that? I have no idea what that is. And so I got into it because they were showing me and getting me to work on it hands-on. And I got really interested, really passionate about it, and kind of stuck with it.
So it seems like the two of you had different backgrounds. Is there a certain type of person that is attracted to ice carving or that typically gets into this hobby?
Really, no. Just whoever gets into it and they find an interest into it. Mostly people like being outside in the cold a lot.
Gotta like the cold, which I guess makes sense, right? I mean, it is cold. Are there different types of ice carving?
Yeah, there's different types depending on different situations. You get the most common one that you see would be a buffet piece. Those buffet pieces are at weddings, they're at special events. Then you move on to a functional, again, for another special event, but it's a type of ice where you see some type of interaction between the guest and the ice carving. So beverage luge, fountains, even some photo ops. Then you move on to festival carvings, which are multi-block, larger scale pieces that you would see at Plymouth Ice Fest is a really good example. And then you go on to competition pieces, and those are the really intricate pieces, really delicate pieces that really push the limits of the ice and really push the artistry of it.
How do you learn ice carving? I mean, is this like other types of sculpting and you just take sculpting classes, or is there special training that you do around ice carving in particular?
Well, in the beginning, I cannot draw at all. To this day, still really cannot draw. We start off with a template design, which is like an outline of the carving, and you kind of take it from there. Then as you get better into it, you start to see the shapes how certain things are square, where it has to be more round, or something need to be straight or narrow. You can just manipulate the ice to that. So it takes a while to get to see the eye for it, but once you get the eye for it, you just see it. So it takes practice, but after a while, it comes to you naturally.
Okay. Do you want to add to that?
And as far as learning the skill itself, it's really a specialized skill. There's not really too many people out there in the world that know how to do this. So it really benefits someone to learn from a carver with a lot more experience. So a lot of times, most of the carvers that I've run into, they have a culinary background, because most of the time people who know how to carve come from the culinary arts. That actually falls into one of the skills of a garde manger chef. And so usually these carvers come into a situation where they want to learn how to cook, and they end up finding out about ice carving, and it ends up being something that they really want to do.
Interesting. So we have a table full of equipment. You want to share with me a little bit about what all these tools are and kind of how you use them?
Sure, no problem. This right here is a steel chainsaw, which we use to design the ice with. Cut the blocks down, cut them in half, cut off nice size chunks. We also have die grinders laid out right here. This is a 600 die grinder with a Roscoe bit on here. This is good for detailing faces, getting a little small between areas right there. Then this one right here is another 600, but the difference between this one and the other one is this one has an extended shaft on it, which allows you to put on thread on bits, so you actually can just thread it on real quick, tighten it up, and the shaft actually helps spin a little bit faster, where it's not as low as the other one out, so you get a little bit more room in there. It's a little bit faster. And this right here is a cone burr, It's good for a lot of your shapes when you're trying to round something off. Even doing something like a lines, if you're doing a shot luge and you just want to put the line down there, this is what you'll use for it right here. So this is nice right here. I like the 600s personally myself. And this right here is an 800, which is very fast. It has adjustable speeds on it right here. So you can turn it down or go all the way up to 5. Take it all the way down to 1 if you want to. This is also another extended shaft with another thread-on bit. This right here is called a zip bit. The zip bits are very nice to use, but they're also dangerous. So you have to make sure you hold this with both hands, because if not, you can possibly lose one or hurt yourself. And the thing about these is I just like using the zip bit a lot because it allows me to get like at least halfway into the ice without me having to go to chainsaw sometimes. So sometimes this can be a little bit faster than using a chainsaw. It depends on what you're doing with it. Then also we have right here hand saws. Like the hand saw, like we said earlier, when we do multi-blocks, festival pieces, especially in Plymouth, this right here is your best friend, because you got to put all the blocks together, and you need this to make sure everything stays nice and tight together. Then right here, I have ice tongs. This is what we actually use to pick the ice up. So most times, it's always a two-man team doing this. Yeah. One guy on the other side, the other side, we pick it up, stack it on top, however we got to put it in the cooler, freezer, or whatever we're doing for that day. Then right here is also a nail board, which, like I said, during multi-blocks between handsaw and nail boards, these are things you'll use the most. The nail board is used to make everything in the block smooth, so the next one on there, there's a flat surface on top of it. Then right here we have other bits. Another comb burr. This right here is a rotary knife bit.
So you'd put these on these other
I can start
tools that you showed me, and then they've got different purposes in terms of how deep you go or the kind of cut that it makes.
Yeah, kind of like this one can go right deep for you. This one can round for you. This is like if you're doing a face, it's good for that. Your rotary knife is good for faces too. I really like this one too myself. Then we also have all different types of stuff. You have an end mill right here. This is what we normally start off with in the beginning. With any design, you start off with this, just to do the outline of it. Then after that, you can take it from there.
Kind of like your drawing.
Yeah.
Like that's your penciling in.
Yeah, that's your penciling in right there.
Okay.
So this way, you know where you're starting and your outline for it. We use a lot of different stuff. Ice carving. We got ice picks. We use brushes. We even use keyhole saws for texture for different items on there. Then right here, which is our #1 tool we use, this is very good right here, chisels. We have flat chisels, V chisels. We use all types of different chisels depending on what the job is. This is right here is good for when you're doing a multi-block or a competition piece. You gotta really get in there and get something off quickly.
And multi-block meaning there's more than one piece of ice that's coming together to form one piece?
Yes.
Okay.
We done multi-blocks of 15 blocks of ice stacked high. We also did a couple years ago in Plymouth, we did a King Kong in Plymouth, so that was a pretty tall piece. We have to use a high-low scalpel to get all up there and get it nice and detailed, which is part I like about the King Kong piece was wherever you looked in the Kellogg Park in Plymouth, you could see it.
You could see King Kong.
You can see it from anywhere, from any position you stand like, oh wow, there it goes right there. Okay, this was the tallest one out there. So a lot of tools are used for that. Like this right here is a small flat chisel. Small flat chisel would come in handy, especially towards the end competition, where you clean the whole piece off, you're good to go with it, but it's cold outside, so the water freezes. And those little drip marks right there, judges don't want to see that. So you get in there with this, take them all off nice and slow, easy, make it look very pretty.
Where do you get the ice? How do you make ice that big?
We actually make our ice here at the college. We have a Kleinville machine where we actually make our own ice here. We was fortunate to get that through scholarships and stuff like that. So we actually harvest our own ice here and put it in our freezer.
And if you want to practice or you're learning, is there a way to make it if you don't have one of those machines?
Unfortunately, no, but you can come here to the class and sign up, and we can show you how to ice carve. And if you ever think about competition or you want to do something for your family, you can do it that way too. Or if you have no clue at all what you're doing, just go out and buy some ice from someone else and they'll charge you $100 for it. But why pay that much when you come here and actually learn how to do it instead of just playing around with $100?
Yeah. What about when the weather is warm? Like, how does that, because I'm sure that obviously creates some interesting challenges for you as you're working with a medium that literally will melt away eventually if you don't work quickly. How does that work? How do you have to handle that in order to have a sculpture that stays put long enough for you?
Well, you just work faster, number one. That's the easiest thing to do. But there's definitely some challenges involved with that. When you're dealing with warmer weather like today, we're dealing with something around the 60s. You got to keep out certain variables when you're carving the piece. So right now, at this time of day, we're probably dealing with a lot of UV coming from the sun. And sometimes the UV can be more damaging than the actual warm weather. So in order to protect the ice from the UV, we have a lot of UV blocking materials, pop-up tents, really nice pop-up tents with a silver lining on the backside. You can also shuffle the ice between your carving site and the freezer. So if you're not as experienced as someone who can carve something in an hour or two, put it back in the freezer for half an hour. It'll firm up just enough for you to work on it for another hour or so. So there's a variety of ways you can utilize to protect the ice as you're going along. But usually the best bet is if you can carve that piece of ice in 2 hours, you're not going to have to worry about too much.
I think you mentioned some kind of template. So is that typically how you might start? Is that you'll get inspiration or use some kind of a template to help you with that?
Yeah, we use it as an outline basically. It's just a blueprint for your ice sculpture. You pretty much, some blueprints, especially during freestyle competitions where it's only the carver will know it's template. You have it set up where there's different things where okay, I got this block, this side for this side for that. It's set up as an outline. It's just basically just your map to start you off with.
Is there like a progression where maybe when you first start off, for example, there's a certain type of ice carving that you do first and you build your skills with that and then you gradually get more intricate? What does that progression look like as people develop their skills in ice carving?
Usually when you start ice carving, you want to start with something that's really basic. In this program, we're putting out our carvers. We start with the clamshell. That's really the most basic. You utilize only hand tools and you work your way up towards more advanced carvings. As someone who's just starting out, something like an animal or a human figure would be something you want to stay away from. Those are some of the hardest things that you can attempt to do in an ice carving. And it's really tricky to nail that down unless you've had the practice with other things. So if you just start with something simple like a clamshell, basic shape, work your way towards other inanimate objects like sailboats, trees, that kind of stuff, Christmas trees, we always sell a lot of those. And you work your way towards the animals and eventually the human pieces. You'll see a nice progression in skill as you're working through. Never want to tackle on a human as your first carving.
Nothing too tricky. I can see where that would have to make it look real, right? That would take a lot more skill, so that makes sense. Where are other places you can go for inspiration? So obviously that there's some classes that are offered that help teach you, but as you're developing skills, are there clubs or meets? I mean, you've mentioned events. How does that work in terms of kind of seeing things that other people have done and giving you ideas of new things that you could try that go beyond the basics of what you're learning in class?
Really, you can get inspiration from anywhere. Just whatever you're looking at, like cartoons, TV shows, art, anything you look at will give you the inspiration of doing certain things. It's just like last year, me and my partner, we seen Starship Troopers, the arachnid bug. We actually carved that for our team piece, 4 hours to do it, and got it done in 3 hours and 15 minutes, and had time left to fix everything up the perfect right way. So inspiration comes from anywhere. You could be sleep, dream. I feel like doing that nice. So it can come from anywhere. It's just not you just looking around. Just when it comes to you, it comes to you. Like any artist, that's he'll tell you.
And what about the community side? Are there other clubs or places to go where people who are into ice carving kind of get together and share and learn from each other?
Well, most of the clubs that you run into as far as ice carving goes, it's more of student-oriented, so it's related to a college. There's quite a few in the state of Michigan, and they're all places where students can come together and learn the art of ice, as well as travel around the country and compete. Beyond the college setting, usually what you run into is carvers who continue outside of college. They tend to compete in the same circles, and you run into the same guys in every single competition. You end up becoming really good friends. You meet a lot of cool people, and you stay connected that way. And you seem to want to push each other and get better as you go to each competition and run into your same buddies.
That's great. I'd love to see some examples. Can we take a look at some ice carvings?
Sure. Yeah, let's go.
Drop that in while you're saying how you do it. Yeah, you can drop this in here. Wait. I don't got that. Need a picture of that. Oh, picture? Not a picture. Yeah, whole picture.
So Robert, we've got a sculptor busy working here. Explain to me a little bit about what he's doing.
Right now he did the cancer symbol, and right now he's trying to make sure he get it nice and round. You know, the cancer symbol's nice and round, so he's taking off the edges right here with a flat chisel to get rid of all the edges before you can have a nice smooth round edge to it. So it's going on the inside of here, make sure you get it all in one smooth area. Then looks pretty good right now, like he's almost there. So he gotta probably just go through a couple more edges, and he'll have it there. And it'll be there in a few about give him another 20 minutes, he'll probably be done with it. So yeah.
All right, we've got another piece. We've got power tools out now.
Yep, sure we do.
So explain to us, remind us what this tool is, and then what is he about to do with it?
This right here is a 600 die grinder with a shaft on it with a threaded bit, and this is called a burr bit, which is one of my favorite bits. Is one of the first bits I had when I first started here. He's actually making a gym shoe right now, and he's putting the laces in. So he's taking this bit right here and pushing the ice down so you can have this bulge like a strap right here. Another one right here is going over, so you get that crisscross look just like your regular jump shoe you normally have. So he's going to finish it up right up in there and get the whole crisscross thing going on for the gym shoe.
And the shape of that one, the idea then is he ends up getting a rounded shape as opposed to using something where you'd get a real sharp line, right?
Yeah. Okay. So he just really just pushing one piece of ice on top of another piece of ice to give it that effect, the look of it being crisscrossed together.
Okay.
So
great.
All right, don't get started.
I'm getting out of the way. Jeffrey and Robert, it's been really great meeting you, and thanks so much for sharing your hobby and showing us your ice sculptures. If people want to get started, how do you recommend they get started in ice sculpture?
Well, the college, Henry Ford College, offers 2 ice carving classes, and that is Intro to Ice Carving, or Ice Carving and Design, what the proper name is. And we also offer ice carving for the professional. That's our advanced level class. So our intro class is offered twice a year, and that is during the fall and winter semester. Enrollment for the fall is now open, so anyone interested can go onto the Henry Ford website and find ways to enroll and to get enrolled in that class. The advanced class is only offered during the winter, so for those who are starting in the fall, they're lucky enough to where they can roll right into the winter and continue on with that. Also, you can check out our work, take a look at some of the things that we've done over the years. Visit our website at hfccice.com and take a look from there. If you were interested in probably even get in contact with us for the pieces, maybe for an event, something like that, there is contact information on that website.
Excellent. Thanks again so much. Really appreciate your time today. Thanks, everybody. That wraps up another episode of Exploring Hobbies.